After Xiao Yan fell into a coma, the remaining aggregation pill fluid inside his body did not stop, continuing to frantically absorb the dense Primordial Emperor Qi from the outside world. The rich Primordial Emperor Qi showed no sign of diminishing, still pouring wildly into his body. It was precisely this continuous cleansing by the Primordial Emperor Qi that kept Xiao Yan's body alive. Otherwise, with excessive blood loss, he would very likely have died. As the unconscious Xiao Yan's face grew increasingly pale and the vitality within his body grew ever weaker, a flicker of flame suddenly flashed across his chest. Immediately after, a fire dragon engulfed in blazing flames appeared out of thin air. The fire dragon first stretched its massive body, then seemed dissatisfied as it said, "This Chaos Emperor flame still hasn't fully transformed from a lower realm flame. The energy within the flame core is far too weak." It then lowered its head to look at the unconscious Xiao Yan, and upon sensing his injuries, a strange light flickered in its eyes as it muttered, "How did this kid end up so badly injured?" After a brief moment of thought, blazing flames surged within the fire dragon's eyes, and a faint but mysterious brilliance slowly appeared in its pupils. With the help of this mysterious light, it instantly saw through everything inside Xiao Yan's body. When it saw the vast Primordial Emperor Qi flowing through his meridians, it was overjoyed. "Excellent. I didn't expect this guy to already have so much refined and pure Primordial Emperor Qi within him. Heh. In that case, I'll save your life." As soon as its voice fell, the fire dragon let out a low roar. Its dragon eyes locked tightly onto Xiao Yan's meridians as strands of brown flames flowed within its gaze. At the same time, its dragon claws slowly moved as though grasping something. In the next instant, it suddenly lifted its claws, and a massive amount of extremely pure Primordial Emperor Qi appeared between them. The moment this Primordial Emperor Qi was extracted, Xiao Yan's originally swollen body visibly shrank slightly. However, in the next instant, under the powerful medicinal effect of the aggregation pill fluid, another portion of refined Primordial Emperor Qi was injected back into the meridians from which the fire dragon had taken it. Seeing this, the fire dragon became even more excited, letting out continuous low roars as it increased the speed of extraction. Gradually, only a trace of the aggregation pill fluid remained. Under repeated refinement by the Primordial Emperor Qi, Xiao Yan's previously shattered meridians and bones had completely recovered, and his swollen body gradually returned to its original state. Having harvested a large amount of pure Primordial Emperor Qi, the fire dragon finally let out a breath of relief. Just as it was about to enter the Chaos Emperor flame, it glanced at the still unconscious Xiao Yan. After a brief hesitation, it muttered to itself, "This kid is currently breaking through to the rank of Emperor Soldier. It seems he's reached a critical step. Forget it, I'll help him a bit more. If his strength increases, it might also slightly help in fully transforming the Chaos Emperor flame into an Imperial flame." As the thought passed, the fire dragon twisted its body and pressed its dragon head against Xiao Yan's forehead. It suddenly let out a peculiar dragon roar, yet the sound vanished instantly without spreading even the slightest bit. After the roar, the fire dragon seemed to have expended a great deal of energy. Its flames dimmed considerably, and the brilliance in its eyes faded as though filled with exhaustion. After a brief pause, it glanced toward the distant horizon as if unintentionally, then never looked at Xiao Yan again, carrying a large amount of Primordial Emperor Qi as it vanished. In the endless darkness, Xiao Yan had no consciousness, no sensation, only a faint, hazy awareness drifting aimlessly. The moment that last trace of awareness disappeared would be the moment of his complete demise. Where am I? Who am I? In the boundless dark space, Xiao Yan asked himself this question more than once, yet never received an answer. Just as that final thread of consciousness flickered like a candle about to extinguish, a dragon roar suddenly rang out like thunder from a clear sky, abruptly awakening him. Within this fragile sliver of consciousness, a supreme fire dragon dominating all heavens and realms appeared in the endless darkness along with that resounding, bell-like roar. Its body was as vast as a mountain range, and the raging flames upon it seemed capable of incinerating space itself. Its enormous eyes contained a light that shook the soul. Just as Xiao Yan was overwhelmed with shock, the fire dragon suddenly let out a long roar toward the sky. Its massive body then rapidly shrank until it reached only a few zhang in size. It gave a soft cry and transformed into countless specks of light that vanished into the void. Those countless light specks trembled under Xiao Yan's astonished gaze, and in the next instant, enveloped his last trace of consciousness. Feeling his fragile awareness rapidly recovering under the nourishment of the light specks, Xiao Yan was overjoyed. He immediately closed his eyes and began to recover with full effort. Outside, shortly after the fire dragon disappeared, the unconscious Xiao Yan's eyelids suddenly twitched, and then his hands moved slightly. The next moment, he slowly opened his eyes. Seeing the now bright sky, he ignored the blood all over his body and quickly checked inside himself. His condition had improved significantly. His meridians had returned to normal. Although faint pain could still be felt, it no longer mattered to him. When he discovered that a trace of aggregation pill fluid still remained within his body, Xiao Yan's expression shook. Looking at that last bit of medicinal fluid, he exhaled lightly, clenched his fists, and muttered, "I'll risk it." He then closed his eyes and activated the aggregation pill fluid within his body, causing it to circulate rapidly. Very soon, under the influence of the remaining aggregation pill fluid, vast amounts of Primordial Emperor Qi surged into the Origin Emperor crystal. In just moments, a jade-like crystalline Origin Emperor chain solidified. Amid the sound of clashing metal and iron, the chain slowly pierced through his entire network of meridians. Xiao Yan's previously weakened aura suddenly surged once more, and a sense of sudden clarity returned to his mind. The newly formed Origin Emperor chain was only about the thickness of a thumb. Driven madly by the aggregation pill fluid, large quantities of Primordial Emperor Qi poured into it, quickly swelling it to the thickness of a baby's arm. Sensing the growing swelling pain within his meridians, a sharp light flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes as he forcibly controlled the vast Primordial Emperor Qi within his body. Since most of the energy in the aggregation pill fluid had already been exhausted, the remaining portion could absorb less than 1/5 of the original Primordial Emperor Qi. Under Xiao Yan's forceful control, the Primordial Emperor Qi pouring into the Origin Emperor chain gradually came to a halt and instead gathered within the Origin Emperor crystal. Just as Xiao Yan was considering how to expend this excess Primordial Emperor Qi, the energy within the Origin Emperor crystal suddenly began to solidify once more. Under his astonished gaze, it condensed into another Origin Emperor chain. Once this chain successfully pierced through his meridians, Xiao Yan's aura surged again, this time erupting several times stronger than before. Soon, this second Origin Emperor chain also grew to the thickness of a baby's arm. When Xiao Yan tried once more to control the infusion of Primordial Emperor Qi, the energy within the Origin Emperor crystal once again condensed into a third Origin Emperor chain. When the third chain reached the same thickness as the first two, the aggregation pill fluid finally exhausted its medicinal power. The Primordial Emperor Qi that had been frantically pouring into Xiao Yan's body instantly dissipated, and the fourth Origin Emperor chain that was beginning to form within the Origin Emperor crystal also came to a halt, leaving only a faint embryonic shape. During this process, Xiao Yan's aura once again surged dramatically. When the dense Primordial Emperor Qi around his body finally dispersed, he felt the power within him, now 100 times stronger than that of a near-star Dao Emperor, and a smile he could not suppress spread across his face. Three Dao Imperial Soldiers. After a long moment of excitement, Xiao Yan looked down at his blood-soaked body. His joyful expression suddenly turned into a flash of furious, killing intent. Zhao Qingshan, I'll remember this debt. Recalling the unbearable agony from earlier, Xiao Yan let out a lingering breath of fear. That moment had likely been the closest he had ever come to death. Even the extreme heat within the Red Flame Wolf's cave had never left him so helpless. Thinking of the fire dragon that had awakened him, Xiao Yan's expression shifted. With a grasp of his right hand, the chaos Great Emperor Flame appeared. He called out to the fire dragon several times in his heart, but received no response. Letting out a breath, he cast a grateful glance toward the flames, then stowed the chaos Great Emperor Flame away. Ignoring the blood covering his body, he clenched both fists and felt the immense power contained within the three origin emperor chains. Unable to contain himself, Xiao Yan let out a long roar of exhilaration. Roar! Suddenly, a deep tiger roar came from behind him, carrying boundless rage. Xiao Yan immediately turned alert and looked back, only to see a massive snow-white tiger standing atop a distant hill, glaring at him. When winter arrives in the forest domain, most magical beasts fall into a deep slumber in extremely hidden places. Ordinary disturbances would never wake them. But the commotion from Xiao Yan's breakthrough had been far too great, and his earlier roar had finally roused this sleeping cloud tiger. Woo! The low growl of the tiger carried a thick warning. The cloud tiger was an early-stage spirit beast, roughly equivalent to a human at the second or third Dao Imperial Soldier level. Coupled with its ferocious nature and immense strength, humans of the same level rarely gained any advantage against it. Perhaps having already sensed Xiao Yan's strength, the cloud tiger, eager to return to its slumber, did not immediately attack. Instead, it kept growling, hoping to force the human before it to retreat. Xiao Yan glanced at the cloud tiger and suddenly smiled. I've seen you before. A month ago, I accidentally trespassed into your territory and nearly lost my life. Today, I'll settle that old score. Without waiting for the cloud tiger to react, he let out a low shout and threw a powerful right punch forward, carrying a fierce gust of wind. Even though the cloud tiger could not understand his words, it instantly grasped the situation upon seeing his stance. It roared in fury, its massive body over 4 meters long moving with surprising agility as it lunged at Xiao Yan, its sharp claws swiping toward his right fist. Xiao Yan, also a Three Dao Imperial Soldier, showed no fear whatsoever. Moreover, he currently needed an opponent to properly adapt to his newfound strength, so retreat was not an option. Mid-charge, black light suddenly surged from his right fist. In the next instant, a colossal phantom fist manifested in midair, carrying overwhelming might as it smashed toward the cloud tiger. Perceiving the power contained in the enormous fist, a trace of fear flashed in Yunhu's eyes. But immediately his beastly nature erupted, his eyes filled with crimson as he lunged straight toward the incoming giant fist. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out. Xiao Yan's steps did not move even slightly, while Yunhu howled miserably as he was sent tumbling several meters backward. His entire aura weakened drastically. Xiao Yan glanced at the damage caused by his own punch with surprise, somewhat unable to believe it. Even if this Yunhu possessed the strength of a second Dao Emperor scholar, it should not have been possible for him to be heavily injured by a single punch. Looking at his right fist, Xiao Yan suddenly thought of his Origin Emperor chain. Normally, an Emperor scholar's Origin Emperor chain was only as thick as a thumb, but his own was as thick as a baby's arm. Perhaps this was the reason he could injure Yunhu with a single strike. Although he only possessed 3 Origin Emperor chains within his body, even an ordinary 5 Dao Emperor scholar might not necessarily be his opponent. However, the drawback was also obvious. Condensing each Origin Emperor chain required far more Primordial Emperor Qi than that of others at the same level. Advancing once nearly cost me my life, but the benefits are considerable as well. Xiao Yan chuckled as he looked at Yunhu, who had struggled briefly before finally losing all signs of life not far away. He then shifted his gaze into the distance, where a towering mountain stood like an existence that had broken free from the shackles of heaven and earth, untouched even by raging wind and snow. The blizzard that had lasted for days finally vanished. A sliver of sunlight pierced through the endless clouds, casting light upon the vast white land, reflecting a faint glow upon the snow and bringing a sense of tranquility to the forest domain at dawn. However, this brief calm was instantly shattered by a sharp, miserable roar. Moments later, the roar disappeared. Xiao Yan, wearing a joyful expression, dashed out from a cave holding a faint red, crystalline herb in his hand. I didn't expect even a cave of a low-level spirit beast to contain millet essence herb. I nearly missed it, Xiao Yan said as he looked at the herb in his hand. He immediately crushed it into powder and applied it all over his arms. A faint cooling sensation spread through them. From the alchemy information he had exchanged with Zhao Qingshan, Xiao Yan had learned about various medicinal materials used in pill refinement, as well as some herbs that could be applied externally. Like this millet essence herb. Although it was not used for refining pills, its juice could be directly applied to wounds and was considered a miraculous healing herb. As the cooling sensation on his arms gradually faded, a soothing feeling emerged, causing Xiao Yan to feel delighted. His injuries and hidden ailments left from his advancement to Emperor Scholar 2 days ago had finally recovered almost completely. He flexed his restored arms and gave a soft shout. Instantly, the 3 origin emperor chains within his body clanged violently, echoing like metal striking metal. Feeling the seemingly inexhaustible primordial Emperor Qi within him, a surge of heroic ambition rose in Xiao Yan's mind. He looked toward a distant colossal peak. Even from 1,000 miles away, he could still faintly sense the formidable aura it emitted. Indeed worthy of being formed from the fall of a supreme saint expert, he marveled. With a thought, a strand of intimidation aura flowed out from him, effortlessly dispersing the distant supreme saint pressure. After calming his slightly excited heart, he flapped his sky phoenix wings and vanished in an instant. Eastern Star Domain, Cloudfall Academy. Amidst a range of continuous green mountains, several elders of varying strengths stood atop a peak, watching the morning training of thousands of ordinary students below while chatting casually. Elder Fong, are there any promising talents among this year's recruits? A middle-aged man in a black robe asked suddenly. His sharp gaze like an eagle swept across the thousands of students below. If Xun'er and the others were here, they would immediately recognize Elder Fong as the Imperial Master level elder who once recruited Xiao Yan and the other 5 in the new Emperor domain. Upon hearing this, Elder Fong gave a bitter smile. Elder Yi, among the 5 new Emperor domains this year, not a single lower realm fighting emperor was recruited. Although the 3 surrounding prefectures brought in several thousand students, not to mention a sovereign stage trialist, even emperor-ranked trialists are extremely rare. Elder Yi frowned slightly. This result was indeed disappointing. The new generation of the Star Moon Spirit domain was truly declining. He sighed softly. What about the other 3 academies in the Star domain? After some thought, Elder Fong replied, according to intelligence from the Cloudfall Shadow Guard, the 3 major academies also gained little this year. Even Star Sky Academy only recruited 3,000 students. Elder Yi nodded slightly, then suddenly asked, by the way, how is that little fellow you recruited 2 years ago who reached the Saint rank trial condition doing now? Elder Fong chuckled and took out a crystal-clear jade bead. Inside it, a tiny red light was moving at an imperceptible speed. He placed his hands on the bead and muttered softly. Soon, after the bead emitted a dazzling glow, he opened his eyes and wiped the sweat from his forehead. It seems he is heading toward St. Fall Mountain. St. Fall Mountain? Everyone around was shocked upon hearing this. Even Elder Yi showed a hint of surprise. After a moment, Elder Yi slowly said, that is the mountain formed from the fall of the only supreme saint in the great world over tens of thousands of years. How does that little fellow in the forest domain know about it? Elder Fong also shook his head. After a long pause, he said, perhaps he just happened to pass by. Elder Yi smiled faintly. No matter what, Although he will gain nothing from St. Fall Mountain, there are no powerful heavenly beasts within 10,000 miles around it. It is not a bad route for travel. A slightly younger elder suddenly asked, Elder Yi, what exactly is St. Fall Mountain? Was it really formed from the fall of a supreme saint expert? As soon as the words were spoken, they immediately drew questioning gazes from the other elders. Although they were all emperor-level elders, due to the restrictions of their positions within the academy, they had never had the chance to personally visit the forest domain and witness the legendary giant mountain formed by the fall of a supreme saint. In their eyes, heavenly venerable experts were practically immortal, and beings even stronger than heavenly venerable, the supreme saints, were almost symbols of immortality itself. What on earth could possibly cause even a supreme saint to fall? Elder Yi sighed as well. After a long moment of thought, he said softly, I only heard this mentioned by the dean in passing. Tens of thousands of years ago, an unprecedented war that shook the myriad heavens and 10 domains of the great world erupted in the forest domain. It is said that 4 supreme saint-level peak experts participated in that battle. The war turned the forest domain into scorched earth stretching billions of miles. Countless powerful heavenly beasts fell, and even the major guardians of the forest domain did not dare to intervene. The final outcome seems to be that 2 supreme saints perished. 2 supreme saints? Everyone was shocked, and disbelief was clearly written in each other's eyes. After a long silence, Elder Fong finally asked impatiently, if there were 2, why did only one saint fall mountain form? Elder Yi thought for a moment and said, it is said that of the 2 fallen supreme saints, one, upon death, transformed into a towering mountain 10,000 ren high. As for the other, at the moment of its fall, the entire sky above the forest domain was engulfed in endless flames, radiating countless beams of light that covered the heavens. After the flames dissipated, that supreme saint had completely vanished without a trace. The elders exchanged stunned looks, their expressions trembling with shock. Elder Fong and the others unconsciously swallowed, their former dignity as elders entirely gone. After a pause, Elder Yi continued, after the war ended, the St. Fall Mountain was named because of this. It attracted countless experts of the Emperor Dao and heavenly venerable level who came seeking treasures, hoping to obtain even a trace of supreme saint insight. Even Emperor level and royal path experts flocked there in droves, but no one obtained even a single treasure. The elder who had asked earlier showed a look of longing and said, that supreme saint expert must have had such tremendous allure. Elder Yi also sighed emotionally. Of course, a supreme saint represents the pinnacle of power in this world. Even a single thread of inheritance would be enough to drive the world into madness. Otherwise, how could it bear the title saint? Moreover, that fallen expert was not an ordinary supreme saint, but a famous alchemy saint master who shook the 10 domains 10,000 years ago. His alchemy arts were so profound they bordered on divinity. He looked down upon the heavens and earth. Hearing Elder Ye's sincere praise, his tone filled with unconcealed reverence, Elder Fong and the others exchanged glances and smiled faintly. As the deputy head of the Yunluo Academy Alchemy Guild, he deeply revered alchemy masters who had once been renowned across the domains. What was the name of that supreme saint expert? Elder Fong asked curiously, his heart stirred. Elder Yi scratched his head and thought for a moment. It seems he was called Yi Tianchen. After speaking, he glanced at the students below, who were already somewhat lax and distracted. A hint of dissatisfaction flashed in Elder Ye's eyes as he said coldly, a bunch of hopeless failures. No wonder that even with abundant family resources, they can never compare to those who pass the saint rank trial. With this kind of mindset, they will only ever be stepping stones on the path of the strong. He then looked at Elder Fong, who also wore a dissatisfied expression, and said, keep a close eye on that little guy. Report immediately if anything happens. It has been decades since our academy produced someone who met the qualifications for the saint rank trial. I've heard that the other three academies also recruited a few monsters 2 years ago who triggered the highest trial, and they are already undergoing training in various places. Elder Fong nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Elder Yi. Elder Yi nodded. Then, without even looking at the students in the valley who were lazily sitting in groups chatting and resting, he stepped forward slightly and his figure appeared 100 meters away. In just 2 breaths, he had already left the area. After Elder Yi left, Elder Fong looked at the lazy students in the valley and shook his head in disappointment. He muttered, "Rotten wood cannot be carved." The genius disciples of the 4 great clans of the Star Domain and those who obtained Saint rank trial qualifications are still cultivating desperately, while you useless ones are living quite comfortably in the Forest Domain. Even with Xiao Yan's Primordial Emperor Qi far exceeding that of a Three Dao Emperor disciple, it still took him 4 uninterrupted days of travel to reach the foot of St. Fall Mountain, and that was without any interference from magical beasts along the way. After calming the fluctuations of his Primordial Emperor Qi within his body, Xiao Yan finally saw the long-famous St. Fall Mountain. At first glance, he felt a deep, soul-shaking tremor. Unlike ordinary mountain ranges that stretched endlessly with rolling peaks, the St. Fall Mountain range shot straight into the sky like a sharp sword, its entire form vast and imposing, resembling an unparalleled Supreme Saint standing proudly above heaven and earth, looking down upon all living beings. The aura that made even the heavens tremble had not weakened in the slightest even after 10,000 years. It remained as powerful as ever. For the first time sensing such an aura belonging to a Supreme Saint, Xiao Yan's legs nearly gave way, almost causing him to kneel. Immediately, his intimidation force erupted outward, greatly weakening the overwhelming pressure he was facing. Xiao Yan let out a breath and raised his head to look toward the mountaintop that pierced straight into the heavens. The peak seemed boundless to the eye, while halfway up the mountain white clouds drifted leisurely, carrying an ancient and weathered aura that suggested countless millennia of existence. With a mountain this tall, how much time would it take just to search it once? Moreover, over tens of thousands of years, so many heavenly venerables have come here without gaining anything. How could I possibly do it alone? As Xiao Yan gave a wry smile, a wisp of flame suddenly surged before him, and then the fire dragon soared into the sky. The fire dragon did not even glance at Xiao Yan. Instead, it focused entirely on the St. Fall Mountain before it, staring unblinkingly with lantern-sized dragon eyes. After a long moment, it finally let out a low murmur, a dragon chant filled with boundless joy. Under Xiao Yan's shocked gaze, the fire dragon's body suddenly shook and transformed into a colossal dragon stretching 1,000 zhang. Flames blazed across its body like a heavenly inferno, its aura astonishingly oppressive, identical to the giant dragon Xiao Yan had once glimpsed in a trance. Immediately after, the fire dragon raised its head and let out a sky-shaking roar. The dragon cry, carrying overwhelming draconic might, thundered like a storm and scattered the endless clouds. At the same time, the chaos Great Emperor Flame suddenly appeared before the giant dragon. Under the dragon's continuous low murmurs, the chaos Great Emperor Flame rapidly expanded, and from within it, a giant egg slowly emerged. The moment the giant egg appeared, Xiao Yan felt as though the St. Fall Mountain before him had come alive, beginning to move ever so slightly. At the same time, he seemed to hear a familiar bird cry from the distant horizon. In the next instant, the cry rang directly beside his ear, and a sky-covering massive wing, like it was forged from molten iron, appeared in the heavens, its overwhelming might shaking the 8 directions. One of the guardians of the Sylvan Domain, the ancient mystic sparrow. The moment the ancient mystic sparrow appeared, the giant dragon beside St. Fall Mountain also let out an enraged roar. Its aura surged explosively, and in an instant, its strength rose to a new level. The giant dragon's lantern-sized eyes showed no emotion as it stared at the sky-covering wings above. Its entire body blazed with flames as though intended to incinerate all creation. Meanwhile, its dragon roars continued without end. Xiao Yan stared in shock at the massive wings above, feeling waves of dizziness. What was going on? Why had even the ancient mystic sparrow been drawn out? A sharp, piercing cry echoed as though coming from beyond the nine heavens. With a sweep of its wings, the ancient mystic sparrow rapidly shrank in size, becoming 1,000 zhang across in the blink of an eye. Since ancient trees were scarce within 10,000 li of St. Fall Mountain, Xiao Yan could clearly see the true appearance of this guardian of the Sylvan domain. What entered his sight was an enormous black sparrow. Its entire body was covered in black feathers that gleamed with a dazzling, almost blinding light. Yet it also carried an exquisite beauty. Meanwhile, strands of black flame continuously danced around its body. Wherever the black flames passed, even space itself shed fragments. The tail of the ancient mystic sparrow was not made of short black feathers alone, but instead bore long, elegant plumes like a phoenix tail, giving it a remarkably graceful appearance. The fire dragon looked at the ancient mystic sparrow not far away and fell into thought for a moment before suddenly speaking in human words. Indeed it is you, little blackbird. After 10,000 years, your strength is still standing still. Hearing this, the ancient mystic sparrow was startled. After a moment, a cold female voice came from it. I never expected you were still alive. That battle 10,000 years ago nearly destroyed the Sylvan domain. What are you trying to do today? Hearing this icy voice, Xiao Yan's expression turned to shock. He had not expected that this powerful guardian of the Sylvan domain was actually female. He shook his head inwardly. With his insignificant strength, so weak that he did not even qualify as an ant in the eyes of the ancient mystic sparrow, he was actually able to hear its true voice. It felt almost dreamlike. The fire dragon also let out a cold laugh in response. With your strength, even if I wanted to do something, could you stop me? Arrogant. Do you think this is still 10,000 years ago? As one of the guardians of the Sylvan domain, the ancient mystic sparrow naturally had its pride. During the War of Four Saints 10,000 years ago, not only her, but even other guardians stronger than her did not dare interfere. A Supreme Saint expert could easily annihilate several heavenly venerables, let alone 4 rampaging Supreme Saints. Even ordinary Supreme Saints would not dare intervene rashly. They would avoid it as far as possible. Yet now, the fire dragon clearly had its origin damaged, and its strength was less than 1/10 of hers. With the pride of the ancient mystic sparrow lineage, she immediately flew into a rage. The fire dragon sneered. Would you have even dared appear before this king 10,000 years ago? These words were like adding fuel to the fire. For so many years, even people from the barbarian domain, renowned for their brute strength, would treat her with respect when undergoing trials here. Even elders of the barbarian domain at the same level would act courteously upon meeting her. Yet now, this mere fire dragon dared to mock her so brazenly. The ancient mystic sparrow immediately let out several sharp cries. Its neck raised high as black flames surged violently across its body, as though it intended to burn the void itself. The fire dragon's expression also turned solemn in an instant. The current ancient mystic sparrow was far stronger than it. If they exchanged blows, it would likely be severely injured in a single encounter. However, this blackbird was simply too arrogant. If it was not taught a lesson, what came next would likely not be so easy to handle. With a flash of thought, the massive body of the fire dragon suddenly twisted. Flames raged violently across its entire form, causing the surrounding space to flicker and distort. The overwhelming inferno dyed the sky a blazing red, like burning clouds at the horizon. Beneath this breathtakingly beautiful spectacle lay boundless danger. The ancient mystic sparrow's aura was slightly stronger than the fire dragon's. Each feather was like a divine blade piercing the heavens, containing power capable of destroying the world. At this moment, it spread its wings that blotted out the sky, and in an instant the heavens dimmed. Radiance flowed rapidly over its wings as beams of light that made heaven and earth tremble erupted outward. Even with intimidation Qi protecting him, Xiao Yan still felt immense pressure under the auras of the two primordial ferocious beasts. A vast, ocean-like surge of energy crashed down from above, making his breathing extremely labored. His legs began to bend slightly. Sweat poured from his entire body, quickly soaking his clothes. His tightly clenched teeth drew traces of blood from his lips. While enduring the overwhelming, mountain-like pressure that even made his internal organs feel distressed, Xiao Yan's eyes remained exceptionally bright. Within his lower abdomen, the Origin Emperor crystal slowly circulated. Assisted by the intimidation Qi, it quietly absorbed and refined the auras of the fire dragon and the ancient mystic sparrow. Just as both sides stood in a tense standoff, the atmosphere suffocatingly heavy, a sea of brown flames suddenly ignited on the giant egg behind the fire dragon. The blazing inferno condensed into a fire dragon, which then swept its body and shot towards Saint Fall Mountain like a meteor chasing the moon. Upon contact with Saint Fall Mountain, the fire dragon dissolved into countless strands of flame that merged into heaven and earth. In the next moment, under the shocked gaze of the fire dragon and the ancient mystic sparrow, Saint Fall Mountain suddenly trembled. A vast aura capable of piercing the azure heavens descended from its peak, carrying an unmatched pressure as it crashed overwhelmingly between the fire dragon and the ancient mystic sparrow. This aura was boundlessly immense, like an endless ocean. Compared to it, the auras of the fire dragon and the ancient mystic sparrow seemed utterly insignificant. As this presence emerged, the two mountain-like pressures suppressing Xiao Yan instantly vanished. Then, under his shocked gaze, the vast aura slowly condensed into a vague silhouette. At the same time, an ancient voice, as though capable of pressing down the blue sky itself, slowly echoed out. Ancient mystic sparrow, the little dragon was reckless earlier. I hope you will not take offense. Farewell. The moment the voice fell, before the ancient mystic sparrow could even cry out in alarm, the extremely sharp aura suddenly transformed into a 1,000-meter giant void palm. The palm pushed forward calmly, appearing to contain no power at all. Yet in the next instant, space before it shattered inch by inch, revealing pitch-black spatial voids that made one's soul tremble. Before this giant palm, the ancient mystic sparrow was like a small black bird with no ability to resist. After a mournful cry, its massive figure vanished instantly. Staring at the shattered giant palm, Xiao Yan's shock was followed by a sudden twitch of his brow. This energy felt incredibly familiar. This was soul power. Soul power. After realizing the force contained within that palm, which had casually sent a guardian of the Sylvan domain flying an unknown distance, Xiao Yan couldn't help but gasp. Just how powerful must this soul power be? Under this level of soul force, Zhao Qingshan's emperor-level soul was nothing more than a drop in the ocean. As Xiao Yan was still in shock, he suddenly thought of something and his expression changed drastically. He looked toward the silhouette formed by that aura. Hadn't that Supreme Saint Expert already fallen? How could there still be soul power remaining? Before he could make sense of it, the silhouette suddenly dissipated. In the next instant, Xiao Yan only felt his vision go dark and lost consciousness. At the same time, the 1,000-meter fire dragon and the giant egg also vanished the moment the silhouette disappeared. After a slight tremor, Saint Fall Mountain returned to normal once more. In a northern forest domain, above a vast forest that had been peaceful for 10,000 years, space suddenly shattered. In the next moment, a 1,000-meter ancient mystic sparrow shot out from the void, flying tens of thousands of miles before finally stabilizing its body. The ancient mystic sparrow looked in lingering fear toward the southeast. Thinking of that plain, unadorned palm, it could not help but tremble. After a long moment, it screeched, "Impossible! Wasn't he already dead 10,000 years ago? How could he still have consciousness?" The furious roar, infused with heavenly supreme pressure, thundered like lightning, causing countless spirit beasts below to let out miserable cries as their bodies exploded directly into blood mist. After a long silence, a powerful consciousness came from the distant south. The ancient mystic sparrow flapped its wings, and the consciousness was transmitted into its mind. "Sparrow sister, what happened? Why are you so angry?" Hearing that deep and powerful voice, the ancient mystic sparrow let out a cold snort and said, "That supreme saint who died 10,000 years ago still has consciousness. I went to investigate and was sent flying half the forest domain by a single palm." The distant existence paused briefly before sending back a faintly amused thought. "What's so strange about that? The consciousness of a supreme saint does not dissipate for 10,000 years. Moreover, he was once the renowned alchemy saint master across the domains. With his powerful soul power, this is entirely within expectations. You don't need to worry about him. The ancestor once said that given his injuries, even if a profound mystery realm legendary expert personally acted, it would be useless. Wait a few more years, and he will naturally dissipate." The ancient mystic sparrow finally felt a bit better. It muttered a few words, and with a flap of its enormous wings, its figure vanished without a trace. Yunluo Academy. At the very moment Xiao Yan and the fire dragon disappeared simultaneously, the jade round pearl in Elder Fang's hand shattered on the spot. At this time, within a mysterious valley of the academy, several old men dressed in black robes were staring solemnly at the shattered jade bead before them. Elder Yi stood at the lower position, and his gaze toward the group of elders was filled with respect. When this bead shattered, roughly where was that little fellow? One white-browed elder asked after gazing at the jade bead with his cloudy eyes. This jade bead was specially designed by Yunluo Academy for the holy rank trial qualification. It could indicate whether a trial taker was still alive. The moment the jade bead shattered also meant the trial taker was no longer alive in this world. Upon hearing this, Elder Yi quickly replied, "Probably near the St. Fall Mountain in the forest domain." The elders exchanged doubtful glances. Another thin, elderly man shook his head and sighed. "There are no magical beasts near St. Fall Mountain, and heavenly beasts are even more impossible. This is common knowledge. If that's the case, then there's only one possibility. He was killed by another expert who also went there to seek treasure." The other elders nodded in agreement, clearly accepting this explanation. "What a pity," the white-haired elder at the top sighed. "Truly, heaven does not bless Yunluo. After more than 10 years, we finally had a holy rank trial qualification candidate, yet he has fallen so unfortunately. Now, the strength gap between us and the other 3 academies' new students will widen immediately." A bald elder beside him said indifferently, "To die near St. Fall Mountain, that's simply his bad luck. He can't blame others." The top elder glared at him, then turned to Elder Yi and asked, "Yi Qing, how are the other 4 students who entered together with that little fellow now?" Elder Yi thought for a moment and smiled. Although the academy has given them very high treatment, their talent is truly strong. The strongest has already reached 9-star mid-stage Do-D, and the weakest is also 8-star late stage. The elder nodded and said after some thought, "In that case, do not tell them about the death of this trial taker named Xiao Yan. Since their talent is very high, wait until they all advance an Emperor Soldier, then let them become official students and send them out of the academy for external training." Elder Yi Qing respectfully nodded, then turned and left. Watching Yi Qing depart, the elder at the top suddenly sighed. The loss of the academy's only holy rank trial qualification is also a considerable blow to us. In the upcoming 4 Academy Grand Competition, we may face a great crisis. The bald elder frowned. "Great elder, you are being too pessimistic. Among the 10 students in the Yunluo Academy Valley realm, which one isn't at monster-level talent? Mu Yuyang was even the previous holy rank trial qualification, and Lin Dao and the others are also monstrously talented. They may not necessarily be unable to contend with the other 3 academies." Mu Yuyang and Lin Dao, indeed, the great elder said slowly, But the other three academies also have no shortage of experts from the same generation. Take the Southern Sky Academy, for example. Mu Yiyang may be able to fight Zhou Bai, but Lin Dao may not necessarily defeat Lei Yunding. And what about the monstrous talents of this generation from the three major academies? The Zhou clan's little monster Zhou Xingyue has joined Southern Sky, and Xiang Shaodian of the Xiang clan has joined Star Sky. Some princesses of major forces have also joined Glazed Academy. Which of these people has talent weaker than Mu Yuyang and the others? What about us? What do we have? The great elder's words immediately left the surrounding elders speechless. A trace of solemnity began to appear in everyone's eyes. The future of Yunluo Academy was indeed somewhat bleak. Without a holy rank trial qualification, this generation of Yunluo Academy might truly be at the mercy of the other three academies. After the darkness before his eyes faded, a faint ray of sunlight entered Xiao Yan's eyes, dispelling the endless darkness before him. His tightly closed eyes slowly opened, and what greeted him was a vast blue sky filled with white clouds. The sky was exceptionally clear and bright, with scattered clouds decorating it. A gentle breeze blew, carrying a faint fragrance. Xiao Yan shook his head and immediately leapt up, looking around. What entered his sight was an endless sea of forest, lush and verdant, with greenery swaying like rolling waves. In the distance were towering mountain ranges that stretched endlessly, faintly visible. From deep within the forest, occasional clear beast cries could be heard, forming a tranquil scene. After scanning his surroundings, Xiao Yan immediately sensed something was wrong. Before he fainted, the forest domain was still in winter, yet here flowers were in full bloom, mountains and rivers were lush and green. Moreover, the St. Fall mountain that pierced into the sky had also disappeared. This immediately shocked him. Had he been transported by that mysterious Supreme Saint expert to the northern forest domain or the southern forest domain? If that was the case, things would be troublesome. There was no way he could return to Yunluo Academy within decades. This is an illusory realm created by me. Little fellow, who are you? Just as Xiao Yan stood there at a loss, an aged voice suddenly echoed through the air. Startled, he turned toward its source. In the next instant, the figure of a young man in flowing white robes gradually appeared, his long white hair cascading over his shoulders. The young man was remarkably handsome, with sharp brows that seemed to pierce the heavens. His face carried an unmistakable air of pride, yet his eyes held the weathered wisdom of someone who had seen through the countless changes of the world. His robes fluttered loudly in the wind, and every movement exuded the commanding aura of one born to rule over all. As the supreme existence of the continent of Dou Qi, Xiao Yan's temperament had long since become incomparably steady. Even when facing someone who was possibly a legendary Supreme Saint expert, his expression remained unchanged. Cupping his fists respectfully, he said, "This junior is Xiao Yan. I ascended from the lower world, the continent of Dou Qi, and became a Dou Di." His voice was firm and neither humble nor arrogant. The white-haired young man glanced at Xiao Yan, a sharp gleam flashing through his eyes before he slowly spoke. "Are you trying to fool me, boy? Ever since my time, no one from the continent of Dou Qi has been able to ascend to Dou Di. More than 10,000 years have passed since then. How could another Dou Di possibly appear now?" Caught off guard by the overwhelming aura that suddenly erupted from the white-haired young man, Xiao Yan immediately released his intimidation qi to withstand the vast pressure. Letting out a slow breath, he looked directly at him and replied calmly, betraying neither anger nor joy. "You must be joking, senior. We have no prior acquaintance. What benefit would I gain by deceiving you?" This time, 5 people in total, including myself, ascended to Dou Di on the continent of Dou Qi. In the future, even more Dou Di will emerge. The white-haired young man merely smiled and did not pursue the matter further. With a flick of his sleeve, a gigantic crimson egg, dozens of meters tall, appeared in midair not far away. Xiao Yan's eyes widened in shock. It was the very giant egg he had obtained from the depths of the Red Flame Wolf's Cave. It had somehow grown to such an enormous size. Originally, after driving away that little black sparrow, I intended to kill you as well. But Xiao Long told me it is still recuperating within the flame core of your chaos great emperor flame. Since you were the one who rescued it from that sunless place, I brought you into this illusory realm as well. The white-haired young man smiled faintly as he gently stroked the giant egg beside him, his eyes overflowing with boundless affection and joy. Hearing such blunt words, Xiao Yan was momentarily stunned before letting out a wry smile. Bowing respectfully, he said, "In that case, this junior thanks you, senior, for sparing my life." The white-haired young man waved his hand. "I've been dead for tens of thousands of years. Being called senior sounds far too awkward. My name is Yi Tianchen. Just call me Elder Yi. Yi Tianchen." Xiao Yan silently repeated the name to himself before respectfully replying, "Elder Yi." Elder Yi smiled faintly. With a slight step, he instantly appeared beside Xiao Yan. After looking him over for a few moments, he nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad. You've got quite a sturdy body, little fellow." Xiao Yan could not help feeling speechless as he looked at Elder Yi's youthful face. Hearing someone who looked so young repeatedly refer to himself as this old man felt incredibly strange. But when he remembered Elder Yi's supreme, saint-level strength, Xiao Yan immediately stopped dwelling on such trivial details. Looking at him with bright, eager eyes, he respectfully asked, "Elder Yi, may I ask you a few questions?" Elder Yi glanced at him and said indifferently, "I know what you want to ask." "Very well. I've been alone and idle for over 10,000 years. Now that someone has finally arrived, I might as well have someone to pass the time with." Before Xiao Yan could respond, Elder Yi flicked his sleeve. In an instant, the winds howled and the clouds churned, and both of them vanished without a trace. The next moment, when Xiao Yan opened his eyes again, he found himself standing atop an enormous plaza paved entirely with green stone, majestic beyond compare. Looking around, Xiao Yan saw not a single mountain range in sight. The sky itself seemed close enough to touch. Listening to the fierce wind roaring past, he let out a slow breath. This should be the highest point within this illusory realm. This is the highest peak of the illusory realm. From here, you can overlook 10,000 miles of forest and broaden your mind. Though it is only an illusion, it possesses a charm all its own. Well then, little fellow Xiao Yan, what do you think? As Elder Yi spoke, he leisurely walked a few steps and had already reached the edge of the plaza. Yet his voice still echoed clearly beside Xiao Yan's ears. Feeling the boundless vastness of the lofty summit, Xiao Yan allowed the powerful wind to wash over him. It carried with it the sound of endless emerald waves rippling through the forest below, filling him with an indescribable sense of freedom and openness. "What an incredible place," Xiao Yan sighed sincerely. After this brief encounter, the awe he had felt toward Elder Yi's identity as a supreme saint expert had eased considerably. Sensing that Xiao Yan's gradually relaxed state of mind, Yi Tianchen smiled faintly. In an instant, he returned to his original position. After slightly organizing his thoughts, he slowly said, "Tens of thousands of years ago, this old man and Xiao Long suffered severe injuries in the forest domain. Xiao Long had no choice but to revert to its initial form, barely preserving its origin. However, in order to avoid being discovered, it expended a large amount of its remaining origin to create a black realm and hide within it. After nearly 10,000 years of changes, just as its life flame was about to extinguish, it met you. Otherwise, do you think Xiao Long, in its original nature, would listen to the orders of an emperor soldier?" As Yi Tianchen said this, he glanced at Xiao Yan with a half-smile. Xiao Yan was also momentarily stunned, then gave a wry smile, a trace of relief flashing in his heart. "As for this old man, after my physical body perished, fortunately my soul was extremely powerful. Combined with some special experiences in the past, I secretly opened up this vast, illusory realm, using the St. Fall Mountain in the outside world to confuse outsiders. For tens of thousands of years, I have thus lived in relative peace." Hearing this, Xiao Yan finally began to understand. No wonder Man Yun said that even heavenly venerables could not find the treasure in St. Fall Mountain. It turned out that St. Fall Mountain was merely a mountain range used to obscure perception, while everything was within this illusory realm. That said, this was indeed an excellent method, with Yi Tianchen's powerful soul force creating this illusory realm. Even ordinary Supreme Saints would likely be unable to detect it. With a new understanding of the strength of Supreme Saint-level experts, Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before saying, "Thank you, Elder Yi, for telling me all this. This junior has a small request, and hopes Elder Yi will agree to it." Yi Tianchen chuckled. Extending his right hand, a ball of crimson flame appeared in his palm. Looking at the dumbfounded Xiao Yan, he said, "Xiao Long still needs your Chaos Great Emperor Flame for cultivation, and this old man is also somewhat interested in you. If you want to leave, I'm afraid I won't agree to it." The flame in his hand was none other than Xiao Yan's Chaos Great Emperor Flame. At this moment, the Chaos Great Emperor Flame showed no resistance in Yi Tianchen's hand, obediently remaining there with extreme docility. After a brief moment of shock, Xiao Yan quickly returned to normal. After all, the person before him was one of the most powerful Supreme Saints in the world. Possessing such means was only natural. Overreacting would instead make him seem inexperienced. "May I ask what Elder Yi intends?" Xiao Yan asked curiously. He was merely a small Emperor Soldier. What could possibly interest a Supreme Saint? It surely couldn't be the junk in his storage ring. As a Supreme Saint, what had Yi Tianchen not seen before? Would he be interested in a heavenly beast core or flame spirit blood? After thinking for a moment, Xiao Yan's gaze suddenly fell on the Chaos Great Emperor Flame in Yi Tianchen's hand. If there was anything on him truly valuable right now, it was undoubtedly the Chaos Great Emperor Flame. As a powerful Emperor Flame of the Great World, its value was self-evident. You little fellow are quite perceptive. Indeed, this old man is rather interested in your Chaos Great Emperor Flame. Seeing Xiao Yan's gaze fall on the flame in his hand, Yi Tianchen smiled faintly, skillfully controlling it. Watching Yi Tianchen effortlessly manipulate the Chaos Great Emperor Flame, Xiao Yan couldn't help but recall the fire dragon beneath the Red Flame Wolf's cave, which had also shown great astonishment at first sight of the Chaos Great Emperor Flame. Thinking further back to Xiao Yi and the 9 profound golden thunder devouring each other, Xiao Yan indeed felt somewhat puzzled. After a long while, under Xiao Yan's increasingly impatient expression, Yi Tianchen finally spoke. "How does your Chaos Great Emperor Flame contain the fire source of the 3,000 Thunder Emperor Flame? These dozens of days during the summer break, I will basically maintain one update per day. Any missed chapters will also be made up. Thank you all for your support."